Okay.
I'm gonna add this.
Oh, I need to share.
Yeah.
Boop. Done.
Finito.
Val's on. That was fast.
Everybody good?
Mm-hmm.
I'm good. Okay, but before we start, I need to show this to everybody. This is my key of perception, handcrafted, alchemical, supernatural, magical jewelry by Cedric. I have the link to his site right on the top of my Facebook page. Everybody needs to go check it out and get your own magical piece made for you. Oh, I'm so happy she's here. I'm so happy. Okay, cool.
I love it.
Both of you are glowing too. The key is like lighting your face up.
Yeah, she's pretty special. Powerful. She's a guardian for sure.
Cool.
Cool.
So,
well, now you're the guardian, so you get to decide where she lives and what she does and where she goes.
Yeah.
Cool.
So where do we want to start?
Well, I mean, I do want to just say welcome, Cedric, our first guest person,
Am I
alchemist,
the first guest?
amazing warrior,
Viking.
shaman, everything. So if you want, Cedric, go ahead and just introduce yourself really quick, because I know there's going to be some people watching who don't know your magic and are ready to unlock the mystery that is you. So go ahead.
Jeez, pressure's on. Right out of the gate. For some reason in my head, that was going to be at the end. Yeah, I'm Cedric. I function in the world as a metaphist. So to me, that means a synergy of as many languages as possible, especially science and magic or woo-woo. So for example, with the totemic objects, I'm bringing in physical work, tactile skill, 15 years of jewelry experience, and then I'm putting the energy that I need or the client needs into an object. And arguably all of the work I do with private clients, with creating self-evolution trainings, it's all that process of bringing science and magic and energy and emotion all together into one spot. Translator,
Awesome.
like a witch translator.
Yes. Ooh. That's pretty good.
I love that.
Awesome.
Translating the non-physical into the physical.
That's what we're all about. So yeah, where do we want to start, guys? Well, this was really, we've been talking about having you on with us for a while, and this was kind of inspired by, I know, like, you guys were talking about this, and then a conversation Cedric and I were having about basically the fact that everything is all one and the same, and letting go of getting caught up in the semantics of explanation and neutralizing that language and that experience. Because I know for me, for a number of years, I kind of had this energy around wanting everything to somehow make sense to everybody. So I can explain it this way or that way or this way and that way. I can speak the science. I can speak the airy-fairy. I can speak the metaphysic. I can speak the 3D real grounded on and just like really wanting it to make sense to everybody. Because when I started finding myself in this world, it just was such a relief, and my thirst for knowledge was just never being quenched with everything that I was finding out, with everything that I was finally understanding, and just all the ahas and the amazingness of like what power we have when we really step into understanding the reality of energy and everything. So we were just talking about that, and I was talking about my own need to just like let go of that, honestly, and how it's interesting. We all kind of have our own twist on the language of things.
Yeah, no, so I agree with you 100%, because I went through a whole phase in my experience where I would tune into a concept, an ideology, a new awareness that was coming through, and all of the different perceptions or the different modes of explanation or the different channels that I could communicate that awareness through, and it was getting me all mixed up and crossed up and entangled. And what does everybody else need? What is going to make the most sense to the world around me? And I started to recognize that it's all unified. The energy in the unified field itself unifies all of it. It's just what is most resonant to us. What is the language that enlivens and exhilarates and lands with each of us. And so moving beyond the semantics of it, what it's called, what category we've decided to place it in, what philosophy, religion, tradition, science, all of that, and recognizing that it is all unified into one. And that allows us to open up to greater exploration, greater understanding, and awareness of self when we don't get super caught up and entangled in the languaging of it itself. Because I know that depending on certain conversations I've had with certain people before, certain words can close somebody off or shut them down in an instant. And they're missing the magic and the beauty and the discovery that's available to them simply because of the storylines that are attached to specific words and specific languages.
Yeah, it's flavors, right? It's a chosen flavor. We've shown up here in human form for however long, and we get to choose how we want to play and what we want it to be like and taste like and look like. And I would say that probably the most powerful, I don't even know what to call it, epiphany or realization or whatever, that I've had and that I've watched people have is detaching, being willing to choose a flavor and then detaching from expecting everyone else to choose the same flavor.
Yes.
And being able to say, like, I speak in sorcery and witchcraft because it works really well for me. And if you want to talk about science and quantum physics, let's play. Like, let's do it. That willingness has been paramount, one of the most powerful shifts I've seen in anybody.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that. I've seen that too. It's just about, and that's like the reversal, because once you detach yourself from it, you don't really care anymore at all what anybody else is picking. It's just like, can we play together? It doesn't really matter what languaging you're interpreting it through. It's just finding that common ground energetically and then going there and playing in those different dimensions with each other. And I love that. As you're saying that, I'm just getting all these visions of rainbow light. And that's what I've been doing my activations with recently. Because it's, me and Jen talk about this all the time, shape-shifting out of those different expressions of self and having fun in all the different dimensions and playing with all of them and not being attached to any one of them. And really not caring what everybody else selects too. It's just, I think my biggest care that I have when I'm working with people is, are you creating the life that you want to be creating? Are you creating the results that you want to be creating? It doesn't matter to me what that looks like. It's just, is that satisfying to you?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like Jen said, that even after having that awareness and be like, oh, I actually can pick my own flavor and you can pick your own. How novel. There's still this funny tendency to be like, to have a desire to help people understand, or even sometimes I get into this every now and then and I have to check myself, try and make people understand. Like, you can pick whatever flavor you want, but do you really know what's in this flavor? It's like, how necessary is that?
We were talking about detachment too a little bit yesterday, and I think for me, when stuff like that arises, it's just about detachment and laughter. Those are the best tickets for me when that stuff comes up. 'Cause I don't think I've ever cared so much what other people select. It's when I feel the tension of me needing to select what they select that has always been like has created that repulsion in me, like energetic repulsion. Because I'm like, you do your thing, that's great. But when I start feeling that projection coming off onto me for the way that I need to conform, so I can really relate to that. And you know, I mean, I think there's been phases in my life too where it's like I found a new awareness and I just want everybody to know about it. I'm like, you've got you.
Yeah.
Because it's so exhilarating when you tap into those different new ways to create and to create instantly exactly what you want, exactly what you desire. And it's like, everybody needs to know this thing. So that's kind of how that has shown up for me. But I realized early on, just because of my own path, how much my own interests change, how much I can absorb in a short period of time, and then I would be on to the next thing. So I realized pretty quickly that there is no one correct philosophy, science, any of that. It's the combination of all of them that really makes us whole. And that's the fun of it, because that's never ending. I mean, the more that we seek out answers, the more answers there will be to find. So getting stuck in one thing is just kind of like, I mean, that's kind of like a trap.
It's totally a trap.
Yeah, it's totally a trap. It's, I mean, kind of going back to the flavor analogy, if we were all getting ice cream and I like chocolate, you like pistachio, you like strawberry.
I do like pistachio.
I do too. I like all three of those, actually.
I kind of want like pumpkin cheesecake right now. That sounds good. Oh.
But it's like, let's say you're sitting over there with your pistachio and you just don't like it anymore. It just sucks. It tastes like shit. You don't like the nuts. It's just, and you're just eating it and being so disappointed. And I come in and I'm like, but this chocolate is so good. Why don't you try this instead? It'll totally be so much better. Clearly you don't like pistachio anymore. And you're just, no, I want to sit here in my misery with this pistachio. I mean, that's kind of, I think, a little bit what we're speaking to as well, because when we get excited about this creative energy and this creative knowledge, immediately we're shown, or it's really magnified those who aren't in that energy, and you want to share that with them because it's like, this is the key. You've been walking around in circles. Here's the key. We got the key. You want to play with the key? Come play with the key. She's got the key.
Oh my gosh.
But they don't want the key, and you can't want to continue to try to give that to them.
Right. Well, they're showing me too is the desire to hold on to, grasp onto, latch onto anything. It doesn't matter what it is, really. A belief system, an ideology, a physical, tangible thing is for safety and security and stability. And another place they're bringing me to with this is relationships. So this could be a really fascinating discussion for the three of us to get into, and I would love to go there because I've been thinking about most of the men who have been drawn to me in my life it's been because of that allure. Like, what is she? What is that? What flavor is going to come out next? There's so much mystery and there's so much transparency at the same time. But then we get in that engagement and it freaks them out because there's no ability to tame or control or grasp onto exactly what it is that I am or how I'm going to express next. And I feel like that comes back to control, security, finding safety in those constructs, whatever they may be. And so I see the whole relationship paradigm shifting as well as a result of that. Even in my world, man, when I was a little girl, and still, I mean, into my late 20s, early 30s, I thought it was going to be, this fairy tale romance. And I think that that's still an option if I wanted to create that. But I realize in so many ways how many beautiful people I do connect to, and consciously, I think that's because I was playing in that paradigm and with people who are playing in it in an unconscious way, but it's totally different when you start playing in that paradigm with people who are doing it consciously. And so my whole perspective around all of that has shifted over the past year. And I would love to get your guys' take on relationships and monogamy and open relationships. And what are your thoughts?
Well, it's actually it's a territory that I've jumped in quite a bit because I started my journeys as Cedric as a hopeless romantic, and that always creates some pretty ridiculous experiences. Um, Saving you the long, silly story, what I've kind of tuned into is that energetically and intellectually and mindset, and I'm curious what you guys think about this. A relationship is a set of agreements. At the end of the day, it's a set of agreements between you and the other person. And it's really easy to pick the package off the shelf. Oh, I want the monogamy package, or I want the non-monogamy, or the poly, or the open, or the swinger, or the friends, or the work associate. And it's really easy to just kind of hand off the authority and hand off the ownership to some pre-described structure and not feel responsible, because then down the road, when you are so adamant that your flavor is the only possible flavor, you can blame it on somebody else. And maybe that's a little harsh, but people have a tendency to not want to take that responsibility. And so what I've kind of tried to do more or less effectively is just really be conscious of what are the agreements that I want to make, what are the agreements that I am unconsciously making, what are the agreements that I'm expecting without actually communicating. And when there's a discord, when there's a fight, when there is some sort of wobble, it's pretty clear, it becomes pretty clear right away, like, oh, I had an expectation of this agreement and they had an assumption of that agreement, and we weren't lined up, and we never talked about it, and we never felt about it, and we never anything about it. And here we are with a misaligned set of tools.
Yeah.
So open or non-monogamous or not, or anything, I don't think any of those labels, they're effective for communication. They're good like benchmarks. And ultimately, the second you pin yourself to one, you are already down the rabbit hole.
I love that you bring up communication and agreements, because I think that out of all of that, those are the core elements that I just extracted. Because in any arrangement that you're making with somebody, communication and agreements, and being open to the agreement changing also, because I think that's where a lot of the power is. Because you might start out with a commitment to this agreement, and then people shift and change and evolve, and it's like, okay, well, we need to come back to the drawing board and make a new agreement. Can that fluidity be okay? Is everybody open to having that fluidity? Because I think that's really powerful. Because, you might be obsessed with the vanilla bean for like 3 years, and you love it, and then eventually you're like, I need some chocolate sauce or some sprinkles or something.
We're back into ice cream again.
Well, it's a great analogy, I think. Just because it's so clear cut and clean and simple, and then you're not resenting vanilla bean ice cream. It's like, I'm just being vanilla bean. I didn't do anything, like I'm just showing up as my authentic self. What do you want? And so then it's just about us coming back and deciding, do we want to have different new experiences, and can we stay open to what that looks like? And that, I think, is what also helps with the expectations for, okay, well, you're not vanilla, or you are vanilla bean, and I'm trying to make you into like some rainbow bright delight, and that's hard on vanilla, because vanilla doesn't know how to be rainbow bright. And so I think, and that helps take off all the expectations that we create for people to be different than what they are. But we can make an arrangement, or a new agreement. Do you want, are you open, blank, blank, blank? But I think that requires a lot of inner security with everybody who's involved.
Well, if you look at the main reason why people struggle or are not completely happy in that area of their life, whatever type of relationship they have or want or are looking for, it is because lack of inner security, lack of connection to self. More they're pouring themselves into someone else or something else, looking for, it's all outside of themselves, outside of yourself. And I think that you have to have boundaries set in place with whatever type of agreement you're looking for, and allow those boundaries to evolve. But it's bring it back to self. If you don't even have a solid, good foundational relationship with yourself, how do you think you're going to mirror that in some sort of agreement with one person or many other people? I think when it comes to these types of relationships as well, and what I have learned and grown into myself is love the ebb and the flow of it all. Love the fluidity of it all. I mean, be open to allowing that. Like, you do not have to be glued to somebody 24/7 or those somebodies, and you don't have to be glued to the agreement that you made last week or the week before or the week before. You need to be open about it and talk about it and be solid and grounded in knowing that this is what I want. So however this person chooses to respond or agree is their own stuff. I'm not gonna want to try to control that anymore, and I'm not gonna look for the flavors I'm looking for in that person anymore. So there's still, what I'm seeing is just a huge collective ungluing from so many of these. We I think at our core, we're brought up to seek out relationships in the first place for security and for attachment. And we're evolving out of that finally, which is a beautiful thing. But there needs to be more communicating, more openness around all of it with one another.
Yeah, and self-love and allowing the fixed constructs to dissolve entirely. And I think that's what we're working through as a collective largely right now, is attachments to stories, attachments to assumptions, attachments to absolutely to anything at all, and coming back within and finding that security here, because everything outside is always going to be shifting, changing, moving, evolving constantly. And I mean inside too, but that's where your rock of stability is. It's right at your core. It's right here. And so that's the thing that you have. So become intimate with that. And then all of this changing out here, it's not where you're gathering your security from, bringing it back to what Jen was saying earlier, where it's from the outside constantly to have that sense of inner strength, inner security, inner stability, safety. Yeah, we got to let all that go and come back in. And I mean, I think the fluidity is what makes it fun. It's a dance, right? You don't know what's next. Like, ooh, what fun thing is my partner going to do today? Like, how am I going to see them today? Are they going to come surprise me? You know, that's part of the fun, is that dance. And I mean, if you knew all the time, I think it would get boring pretty darn quickly. People think that they want that, and then they get it, and then they don't want it. And so... yeah.
And some people might want it. Some people might genuinely be looking at rainbow sherbet and be like, "Oh, hell no, I don't want that. I want vanilla. I need the gentle flavor."
Yeah.
It kind of goes to what you were talking about. I think it was yesterday. You said that, and correct me if I get this wrong, but that one of the most powerful ways to manifest the reality that you want is to have a clear picture of it, while not having an expectation or attachment to whether or not it comes, because the needy and the clingy is just going to, it's just going to fuck the whole thing up. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on here.
You can swear as much as you want.
So it just goes back into like, love the flavor that is you, love the flavor that you want, and be willing to communicate it. It's that self-love, that core strength, that core foundation, and then being able to look outside and say, okay, if I'm doing this, it's kind of like that subjective objective awareness. If I'm choosing to appreciate and value my core flavor, that means you're probably doing it too, which means now there are two realities. Oh, that means they're doing it too. Shit, now there's three. Okay, now there are, 7 billion realities, and I'm trying to cause all of these different realities to change to my flavor. That doesn't make any sense. So kind of like in conjunction, loving yourself and loving your core and your foundation is, oh, you have your own foundation. Well, I'm curious. Let's hear it.
That's really beautiful too, because having that established within is what allows us to freely love other people regardless of what flavor they're choosing. I think that in relationship, that's where the biggest challenge can come through, is when one or both parties lack at a fundamental level that deep self-love and respect, and then they're needing the partner to provide that for them in some way. And then that's not ever going to happen. You're never going to get that satisfaction out of anyone. So having that first is fundamental, I think, to making any type of agreement work. Oh.
And it's something that Anita said in the comments just now, is that relationships hold beautiful lessons to behold. And there's no suggestion by any of us here, I think I can speak for everybody, that relationships are great. There's nothing wrong with relationships. There's nothing wrong with relationship agreements, but it's the clarity around the agreements you make. And it doesn't always go smoothly. And like Anita's saying, you will find some beautiful experiences and lessons along the way, and that's okay.
No, absolutely. Okay. I think relationships are one of the most palpable tools for evolution that are available to us. I think the communication piece is pivotal, though. What I've discovered is that when my relationships are a deep, like when I feel that sense of deep soul connection with another human being, it's because the communication is open and it's honest and it's authentic. And there's a desire to listen and to hear and to connect between both people. When the communication is not there, that's when shit hits the fan and everything goes awry. But yeah, I mean, relationship in my experience has been one of the most powerful tools for growth. Because I mean, you get a beautiful reflection of all that is you, good, bad, ugly, dark, light. Yeah, all of it.
Yeah, and to that, I mean, you can just ask yourself, if this is truly a mirror, what am I choosing to see? What am I choosing to relate to? What am I constantly drawing that out of that person, and vice versa? So if shit's going awry or the pot's being stirred, it is inevitably at the end of the day you're choosing. You cannot place that blame on that someone. I'm not saying you're controlling them, but you did draw it out of them. Otherwise, it wouldn't be being brought into your experience. And when it comes to communicating, I feel like where some of the awareness is lacking is, again, how are we communicating? You know, are you taking a pause first, communicating with yourself, really going deep within to understand what's going on in your inner world, then coming to communicate with a place of clarity that's from security and solid grounding and knowing and love and non-attachment? Or are you communicating based on your triggers, your emotions, your reactions, your past experiences with that person, how they've always responded, what you think they're thinking, you know, like really communicating from a super detached space is the key to allowing those relationships to really helping you evolve in the most expanded and abundant place. But I'll agree with you, Solera, you know, my relationships are really just deep and soulful and profound. And when I really do have that connection, not the attachment, but that connection that we all want and crave, it is because the communication is flowing, when we're just both in this grounded state of trust in ourselves, trust in our freedom, trust in our growth, trust in being vulnerable with one another. And I'll also say too, it is a lot of times when each party is coming from more of I don't want to say neutral necessarily, but we're both embodying our masculine and our feminine. Like there's just, we're embodying all parts of ourselves. It's not one party's playing one role and then the other's on the opposite end. And that's I feel like what we're all really, really looking for. But that again comes from, who are you being with yourself? What is your inner world looking like right now? You don't know, take a look at that person right now and you can find out for sure.
I feel like what you're speaking to is the conscious and the unconscious. So it's like, are we communicating consciously or unconsciously? But I'm also being brought to this really taboo space of my own self where Yeah. Because when there's those fights and there's that discord and that tension that happens, I'm like, that's a beautiful time for creative sexual expression to unfold if you channeled it in that way. Some people don't channel it that way, but because I really appreciate the wholeness of that experience. And I think that is rare, because I understand that both things are going to occur. Nobody's going to be 100% conscious all the time, and nobody's going to be 100% unconscious all the time. There's going to be a mix. And it's like, well, can we commit to enjoying all of this in some way? But yeah, I haven't really found that partner yet, but I'm open to it because I just recognize that that's what's really real.
Yeah, it is. And
and if we were here, go.
No, go ahead. It's okay.
I was just going to say, if we were here to experience full maximum consciousness all the time, I don't think we would be in physical bodies that have to eat and sleep and get angry and
and it's just finding joy in all of that, finding pleasure. I still have a little bit, like, I don't like saying finding joy necessarily, because to me that still is a little too like
bubblegummy. Yeah.
Finding pleasure with all of that. And I'm just, this was not our tip, what we planned on discussing, but I just have to go there. Like, are you really being sexually liberated? Are you really being completely free with yourself in that nature? If you're not, it's causing problems in all other areas of your life. I'm just saying.
Well, and that's a good question too. Are you allowing yourself to be liberated across the board, or is it systematic and with exclusions and exceptions, and like, oh, I can go wherever I want and I can do whatever I want and I can drink and eat whatever, but we don't talk about sex. It's like, how's that working out for you?
That's where your power is. That is where your creative life force power is. Unlock it. Go there. Liberate yourself. Be wild. Be free. Be uncaged. Be untamed. Let yourself loose. I mean, I'm in all the areas, but that's where most people's creative energy is all trapped up, is around sexual trauma, shame, guilt, fear, feeling badly about what their desires are, what their expression is in that area. That was one of the biggest integrations I ever had in my life, was when I let myself go there fully. So much power, so much primal, raw energy came up, and I got to see my unconscious clearly for the first time when I went there, and learn how to love it. I mean, I think that's a huge mirror in relationship too, is all the taboo parts of the unconscious that need to be liberated show up as the mirror that is our partner. And it's just going, okay, hey, there's this part that's in you, and that's what you're seeing right now. Like, that's the projection that you are placing upon this person so that you can see that part of your own self. And not because it's bad or it needs to be changed, but so that you can love it and embrace it and celebrate it. And that unlocks so much power, because for most people, there's so much resistance in the unconscious. And it's like, when you can learn to be at one with the unconscious, or to just love the shit out of it for exactly what it is, you liberate so much of your power.
And actually, while you're on that subject, Christine is asking, how did you go about liberating that?
Me, my power? Okay, let's go there. So I had a not great experience with a man, and I was raped, and I had so much pent up rage. I'm not even going to call it anger. It was rage. It was fierce. It was fiery. It was the dark sorceress in me that I had resisted going to for so long, because that part of me has created outward manifestations before, telekinetic outward manifestations. And so it scared me to go to that part of myself. I've created physical fires before. I've created rapid turn in events that may or may not have been beneficial to everybody involved. And so there was so much resistance. I was trying to not go to that place when I was dealing with my feelings that came up around that situation. I was trying to do forgiveness work, and I was trying to hold that person in a space of love. I was trying to hold myself in a space of love. I was staging the shit out of everything, and I was doing everything that I knew how to do on the lighter side of things to integrate that situation, to release that situation, to bring completion to that situation. And the only way that that would happen was when I went to my truth, to my honest truth around how I felt, and I uncaged all of that fury, all of that anger, all of that suppressed energy that was inside of my body waiting to come out and be expressed. And I went there, and a whirlwind of revelation started pouring into me for weeks. I mean, I think that that was the most, that was the largest amount of data that I've ever had downloaded at one time when I finally let myself go there. And I realized how our shadow is the key to our wholeness, to our freedom, to completion in so many areas of our lives, to expressing, celebrating, embracing, going there fully. And so that's how I liberated my power. I just went there and let myself have the full experience of my own truth.
Powerful.
Big. That's big.
Yeah.
Shake it out.
I know.
Good.
I
Thank you
feel
for
it.
Yeah, and that's a very important topic of discussion. If you have experienced, especially when it relates to sexuality, if you've experienced across the board any sort of abuse or trauma, you really, really, really need to go there with that part of yourself and release the energetic charge. Otherwise, it is still holding you down and keeping you powerless, because part of your energy is still attached to that moment in time or those experiences, which is something I resisted for years, because I judged myself on the types of trauma and experiences that I had had. I thought they weren't painful enough. You know, I was just being overly sensitive about them. It was so long ago. It doesn't matter anymore. But until I really, really went there with, you know, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse from many different areas of my life, I wasn't able to live fully. I'll just put it that way. I wasn't able to live powerfully. I wasn't able to live abundantly. I wasn't able to enjoy my experiences, to create consciously. I wasn't able to just grasp all of these things. My energy it never was streamlined. It was still just being pulled and attached and triggered by all of these different things. And I still work with my physical body here and there, releasing some of that energy still to this day. But again, especially sexual trauma, because that's trauma to your creative energy, your creative state. So it's creating wiring in your system that says, I should be ashamed, or I should feel guilty, or I should hide this state of innocence that is my full power and my full potential. So you have to let yourself get angry, get fiery, get fearful, get this, get that, get into that state. That's one step above the allowing yourself be sad or kind of that victim energy. That's one step above, because when you go one step above and just go there, that's when you start to take your power back.
Yeah, go to your primal sorceress energy. Go to those deep rooted parts of yourself, and let yourself express the fullness of that part of you. And when I was going through that, it was kind of a cathartic awakening. I realized that I wasn't even mad at the person. I thought I was mad at the person. I was mad or unforgiving towards myself for not standing up for myself, for not setting clear boundaries, for not removing myself from the situation, for allowing it to occur, for not being in my full power, because I thought that it was not okay to be in my full power in that way because of all of the societal constructs that I was still carrying around in my own story. in my own patterning that said, well, this is how a spiritual woman behaves. Yeah, no,
So,
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, so kind of along that line of sexual power and diminishing is not the right word, but suppression, I suppose. Both of you have a very strong energetic field in that territory, and then you both have a unique way of communicating. You know, Jen, the galactic language is not as common yet. It's fairly fresh on the scene. And Solara, you have a very like spicy wilderness energetic way of communicating. For people that are watching that are curious how to interface with this and how to get involved with you, and they're hearing us have this conversation where we're all smiling and they're like, holy shit, that's big. I don't know if I'm ready for that. Do you have a way of, I don't know, carrying yourself or conducting an interaction or holding space for people when they come to you so that they can get into these subjects without being just hit with a wall, so to speak?
I think that the people that typically are magnetized into my experience already know that this is a part of themselves that they want to awaken. And so they're excited. They're excited to dive in. They're like, let's do this. I want to feel empowered. I want to embody my whole self. I want to start creating what it is that I deeply desire in my life experience. Let's go. And so they're ready. There are a few people still in my periphery that I have to be a little bit more gentle with. And so I meet them where they're at. I just meet them where they're at. And I remind them to come back to their core. So this is something that only you know for yourself. So the way that I describe this is the part of you, that warrior part of your nature that has seen you through thick and thin, the highs, the lows, the challenges, the rebirths, that part of you that you have had to call upon for strength in your life. Get intimate with that part of yourself and start to embody that part of yourself. Ask it what it wants, what it needs, what it desires. Be totally truthful with yourself, because that's a huge key for a lot of people too. A lot of people are not being truthful with themselves about the reality that they're existing within and the reality that they truly desire to exist within. And so that would be the first step. Tap into that core. I mean, it's your soul, but it's just this impenetrable core that we all have. So tap into that part of you and get really raw, really real, and really honest, and just see what starts to open up for you. What do you feel drawn to? What do you feel magnetized towards? And trust that. And if it's galactic, that's great. If it's witchy and primal, and then that's great. If it's not any of that and it's just peaceful and Zen and more Buddhist, whatever it is for you, just trust yourself.
I love that you hold space for the expansion instead of creating a safe place for the diminished or the suppressed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I mean, I would say the same thing. For me, I mean, my whole life, the nature of who I am, I've always been that person that somehow naturally just guides people to unlocking their desires, unlocking their power, unlocking whatever it is they need to release, and giving them permission to step into that next thing that they're truly craving. And as much as I can see and hear and understand what's going on with somebody internally, I'm never here to push or force or shove you to reach where I'm at in my energy. So it's just very natural for me. I agree with Solara. Most of the people who tend to, at least business-wise, be attracted to me, ready to work with me, are really willing and craving and excited and wanting to go there energetically. At least with me, they feel that connection with me. But in day-to-day reality and day-to-day life, it's just I'm very discerning of my own energy. Where is my energy wanting and willing to go and dance and play with this individual? And sometimes it is really being the shit stir, because I can tell that that's what we're called to be doing and playing right now. And I'm wanting to go there. You know, it's listening to sometimes just because I'm guided to do something doesn't mean I actually want to do it. So that, you know, there's sometimes that, where sometimes, I mean, I either really turn people on or I really turn them off, and I'm okay with that.
End scene.
There's no vanilla with Jen.
I think that's good though, because you set a precedence for the agreements that you want with the people you work with and with your clients and with the participants, and you have a clear picture of, we could be gentle, but it wouldn't do you any good. So let's like agree that this is the deep water. Get in. And if they don't get in, then obviously there's no relationship, which is fine.
I'm just seeing like lightning rods everywhere, like grounding in power. Just grounded empowerment is what it feels like. Helping people find their grounded space of empowerment. Yeah. And supporting them and embodying that. And the beauty, I think the beauty and the gift and the work that we're all doing is that we have a recognition that that's different for every single individual. Now, as guides, we might know what the next step might be to help them get there as efficiently and pleasurably as possible. But the key is to help one another to stand strong in our own core, our own gifts, our own capabilities, because they're so unique and they're so different, and they're not going to look the same. My clients' gifts are not going to look like mine, and thank God, because they activate the shit out of me too. And it's really beautiful. And I love that. And how boring would it be for us as leaders if we weren't having that beautiful interface with the people that we were working with? It's a mutually beneficial, cooperative container for growth and expansion and discovery for everybody who's involved in that. That's the beauty.
But then with like your inner circle being the one holding, like having you to hold space for that, there's a tendency to this mutual space. We see it a lot in like circling and authentic relations, where these communities have created this fully democratic space holding. And sometimes it works. Sometimes it works really well, and sometimes the expansion gets trapped. And so for you two to like facilitate a space where like, guys, the priority here is expansion, and you can come or not, but that's what we do. I don't know. I like that. I think it's really powerful. You know, it speaks to what you guys talked about 2 or 3 videos ago about we have to work together on this stuff, because this solo act reinvention process is getting boring.
Yeah. I mean, there's a certain, I'm going to say a grouping. There's a certain group of people that I won't work with, but they usually don't come into my periphery anymore. I just don't entertain that energy at all. Yeah. There's a certain degree of already in your power, already spiritually expansive and open, ready for that next level of expansion, wanting that support system, wanting powerful guides who are there. I think that with Jen and I both, one of the gifts is that we don't flinch. There's nothing that you can't bring to us that we either haven't experienced in our own life or that we're not spiritually open and awakened to. And that's very powerful, because we can hold the container for massive expansion to occur. And so I think that's one of the things I experience often. People come to me with supernatural abilities that they are a little bit afraid of, because nobody around them is experiencing them. They're not quite sure how to discern them or use them or direct them, or if they're even sane. And they come and they go, well, I'm experiencing this thing. Please don't think that I'm crazy. And I'm like, this is exactly why you've come to me. And it's beautiful, because it's the first time that they've got that community to really open and flourish and thrive in those aspects of themselves, and have it be accepted and appreciated and empowered then into expansion.
It's, I mean, on that same note too, I think it's really powerful too, come together. I mean, not just, I mean, speaking about the inner circle, but speaking about like Cedric, you have a membership, and we've all, I think, kind of been speaking more and more about coming together in community, because I think about some of my own clients where we have activated and unleashed these amazing gifts and supernatural tendencies that they have, and it's been very empowering and raw and real. But then at the same time, if they don't have something else to walk out into the world into, if they're just still flying solo, there's only so much that we can do in just that one-on-one container. They need a community, a tribe, a circle. They need that connection. And that's really, I think, what we're calling in for, as well as, yes, it's about expansion in your physical reality. That's, you know, that makes our human happy. That's what we want to do. But also, it's like, I see so many of you out there where it's like, one's over here, one's over here, one's over here, one's over here, and you've got all these gifts, things, and you're kind of hiding and you're kind of not, or you're here and you're wanting to go here. If you all would just come together, think about how much more we can create. Think about how much more activating that is for all of you, and empowering and exciting and yummy and feeling good, you know?
Yeah. Yes, I love that. That's so good. I'm sorry, what did you say? Coming together in?
I said coming together in a public space, because the tendency up until now has been in these isolated dojos and these secret corners where this is where we circle, and this is, I just went to a 10-day meditation training, but now I have to go back to my shitty job. And it's like, well, if you isolate all of these expansions, are you really being effective?
Right.
I don't know. And are there other people that are trying to make the same expansion? Can you shortcut? Can you hack the system, and you don't have to do all the steps, because while you're figuring these out, they're doing the other ones, and you can compare notes in the real world, not in a safe, isolated, quiet corner.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate, there's definitely a coming together of community now, particularly after the year changes over. We're going to see more and more of that. And I think it's going to start out with small groupings first, for sure. And then those small groups are going to start to connect to one another, other small groups connecting into be bigger groups. And that's really starting to flourish right now. But I think that so I'm feeling into the sacredness of the solo path, and that each one of us have had, well, Cedric, I'm not 100% sure on you, but I'm guessing by your Viking nature that you've taken many parts of this journey solo, and you have traveled and you have explored and you have done all of that, and you've had those time frames of deeply going within yourself and expanding and rebirthing, and there's a need for that. So the solo part of the journey is so sacred, but now we're starting to come together for amplification, because that is what's needed on the planet at this time. And that's why these communities are starting to form, and why I think we all feel so drawn and called to create and form these communities, because there is so much power when we combine forces, when we combine our energy together. And we need that too, you know? I mean, I think most of us have mastered getting to a place of being in our power solo, but when we come together, it's that amplification that happens. I mean, that's the word that just keeps coming through, is that yes, we're all strong on our own. Yes, we're all powerful on our own, but when we come together, it's almost effortless, and it's so potent. And the creation becomes instantaneous, and it's just everywhere. It's in the air. It's in the ethers. You can feel it. You're experiencing it. It's in the earth. Like, it's just so raw and palpable. And yeah, it's great.
Well, and it's an illusion. It's a myth to ever think that you really are on a solo path. There are moments where you do go inside and you are traveling alone, and etc. Like, for example, before, in the previous chapter, I put all of my time into wilderness survival and wilderness immersion. And the goal was, can I physically place this human in a space where there are no other humans, and there are no comforts, and there are no it's not easy. Can I do that true solo? And even out there, there's so much integration and there's so much interconnection, and you build a relationship with the same tree that you always use to figure out where the fuck you are over and over again. It becomes really obvious that even on your inner paths, the way that you observe other people and the reflections that happen of other people in your memory and in your thoughts, yes, we do things solo, and it's crucial. I would say the solo part of our journey is fundamentally crucial, and solo is an illusion. Like I can't think of a time when we're actually alone.
Yeah, that's so true. I think that in my experience, there were moments when I felt alone when it came to humans, but I have never felt alone when it came to, and this is why I think I developed my witchcraft at such a young age, because I always felt so connected to nature and the trees and the stars and the moon and the earth and the elements in general, and the relationship that I had with all of those beings and deities and entities and in life itself. But for me, I did go through a period where I felt so isolated from humans and from people. And actually, I was quite afraid to connect with people because of a lot of the trauma that I experienced. And I wondered, will I ever feel safe in the presence of a human? But absolutely what you're saying, because I made friends, I made companions with the other aspects of self that I felt deeply connected to, and that interconnection is always there. There's no way that it can't be. Yeah, so thank you for bringing that up.
And you can be isolated from people, or isolated from, there's always some level of isolation, but total isolation is.
Right.
I guess that's more what I was speaking about.
Well, yeah, and I mean that was even.
There's totally times.
Yeah. But even that was my own choosing. That was my own perception because of the fears that I was still holding on to from past storylines and past experiences, when there probably was really nothing to be afraid of, but I had that playing in my mind. And so I viscerally was feeling and experiencing that, which created that repulsion for me. And so I continued on that way for quite some time.
Cedric, I'm so curious, like what inspired you or drew you to do all of that wilderness training? What tell me more, like what drew you into cultivating yourself in that way?
Oh, that's a good question. It's two parts, because at the time, the reason that I went out there, and I found more ingenious ways to make myself suffer, and like, okay, what happens if we go out in the woods for a week without anything except for a pocket knife? Well, what if I forgot my pocket knife? What would that? Oh, look, I forgot it. It was a process of like really pushing myself. At the time, the mindset was, where is the extent of my strength? How far out can I go from my safe place and still be fully functional? And it was just this obsession with trying to find the edge. And I found it a number of times, which was fun, I guess. Looking back on it, though, what I realized is that a big reason why wilderness survival was the method of exploring my edge at the time was scarcity. It was a scarcity mindset. I was violently opposed, not violently, but I was strongly opposed to money and to the use of currency. I was strongly opposed to material wealth and gain. I was just, I wanted this pure, like, complete self-reliance. And I don't know what it was originally, but I hated that modern economic system. And if you don't want to deal in economics and exchange and that sort of expansion, and you do want to learn self-reliance, the only place to go is where there's nothing but coyotes and trees. And I don't know, it's interesting. So at the time, like I said, it made a lot of sense. And I don't regret it. I probably logged over 10,000 hours out in the wilderness. So I really have benefited from that, and you can hear it in my language when I'm working with clients. But at the same time, the original source of that decision was scarcity,
Wow.
which was hard to accept when I first realized it. It's like, oh shit. That was, okay, well, fine.
That's so fascinating that you went there with that, because when I was tuning into the energy around that, and I don't know if you've fully perceive it in this way now or not, or if you did then, but I feel like even though you were opposed to the monetary system, it feels like there was energies that were operating within the monetary system that you were opposed to, such as greed. But it feels to me like, well, I'm just going to be blunt, but I find that very attractive, because I think that you have this strength that you developed while you were out there. And I think that that is a part of you that you wanted to develop, that you wanted to experience. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just feeling into the energy of this and channeling it. But it feels like this part of you that wanted to know that you could survive no matter what, that you could stand strong, that you could be secure within your own skills and capabilities, ability to survive and potentially thrive in the wilderness on your own terms. And the fact that you even had the fortitude to go out and do that speaks volumes, because so many people would have given up super early on that kind of a venture. So I really respect that you did that.
There were definitely moments of giving up while you're out there and you're like, oh shit, I'm 10 miles from any vehicle, so I actually can't give up. No, you're spot on with all of that. There was definitely, especially where I am now, where physical abundance and monetary abundance and just maximum abundance on all levels is a natural part of my life. I did want to understand economics and to interact with it and to use it. But the versions of it that I was seeing, and I love my parents, but the versions of it that I was handed when I was younger, I could not put myself in that position. I couldn't. Basically, I made an assumption that there was only a couple flavors of ice cream, and if those were the only flavors, I didn't want any of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a desire to have it, and also a refusal to have it in the way that I thought I had to have it. So I just left and went somewhere else. And yeah, it was 100% like, we're going to get into sex and morbidity. I have been fully comfortable with the concept of impermanence and death for a very long time. As a kid, somewhere it hit me where I was like, shit, things get old and die. Okay, well, next. And it never really, I didn't feel like, I really didn't have to process that awareness. It was like, oh, death is a thing. Great. That's the exit point of this, whatever the hell we're doing. So I'm just going to enjoy it while we're here and exit when it's time to exit. And so knowing that there was that exit and there was that end point, I had to see what was the maximum reach of this physical body? How far can I get it? How much information can I retain while hungry and angry and lost? Like, we used to like use trackbacks, which is a GPS machine that only tells you where you basically mark your car and you put it in your pocket, and that's all it tells you. There's no other data on it, and it'll tell you which direction your car is and how far, and otherwise you're on your own. And we used to set these trackbacks and put them in our pocket or our bag, whatever, and then just fucking run. Just like get out as far as we can, run for half the day, and then, okay, where are we? Let's figure this out. We have 24 hours till we're supposed to be at work on Monday. So, and the goal was like, don't look at the track back, try and sort yourself out and find the edge and find what you can achieve out there. And so I try and bring that in with like in my daily life and with clients and with everything, just like mark the track back and get out there, get out in the wilderness. You don't have to worry about it. You will find your way back. Go explore a little bit.
Yes.
And maybe I'm a little more ballsy than most people want to be about that sort of thing, but I don't know. It's exhilarating.
That's so beautiful that experience, cool. So do you see how everything just ties into everything else and everything leads to everything else? Like your experience out there, it just like helped you to open up and go, okay, well, what the hell do I have to lose by exploring the economic system and how much money I can create and how many people I can help become abundant, and let's have fun. Let's play in this. Let's see how I can apply my wilderness and my metaphysical skills to this game that's already operating and have fun with that and stretch the edges of that and go there. So that's very cool how those that those tied in together. Did you discover that you wanted to explore more about the economic system after going to the intensity of the edge of the wilderness experience? Like, okay, the sacrifice, the wilderness, the not necessarily giving myself everything that I want and need. Did that open you to the economic system?
Not necessarily. I think the willingness to do that in the wilderness, too, is what kind of made me less I'm comfortable with doing it with economics. But there was a gap between when my wilderness focus ended and my abundance awareness, let alone the shift, which was farther down the road, actually hit. Because I kind of felt this completion, like, okay, I've pushed that. I could continue to push this wilderness thing, but how far does it? Let's go play a different game. I still hate all those people with money. And so it was like there was a funny little gap in the middle where I didn't directly apply the lesson. I don't know, could have taken time to do that. But I didn't, and it was good. And honestly, the gap in between was probably crucial because the way that I understand abundance now is more complete because of it.
Yeah, very cool.
And it kind of makes that question's a good question because it makes me curious. Like Jen, I've read most of your website. You do write a lot though, and your journey through the process of going like, oh fuck, I'm a galactic channel. When did that happen? It's almost like your own little wilderness where you're like, oh well, dark trees, weird forests, funny animals. No. And instead you went into it. So there's an interesting parallel there where I went out into the actual physical trees and, like you said, Solera, you went in deep into the witchcraft stuff to create a space for yourself. And Jen, I'm just like, your language is still one that I'm learning. And so it's so fascinating to me that is the wilderness that you went into.
Yeah. Honestly, at least from my perspective at that time, I didn't have a choice anymore. I didn't have a choice to go any other direction but that direction because, I turned, as I'll use our typical spiritual language, I turned everything off at a really young age. And it was, I was so tired of running. I was so tired of running away, of escaping through everything. Even with money, I was in the sex industry for a number of years, and my escape.
What weren't you in?
Huh? What was it?
I don't know if I'm allowed to. Remember the conversation? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but what did we talk about yesterday? You were a private investigator? Jeez.
Oh yeah, yeah, I was also
no big deal. Sorry, I didn't mean to keep going.
No, it's true. I've lived colorfully, but I've lived colorfully as a way to avoid tapping into my own internal colors, my own internal landscape, so to speak. So when I, figured all this stuff out about me, well, you can blame Zoe.
Zoe for sure activated and enhanced and pulled all of this out for sure.
Yeah, because at the time I escaped the sex industry by deciding I would be a life coach. I decided to be a life coach also out of lack and scarcity, and it wasn't working. And so I was really studying like Abraham Hicks and just kind of getting into all of that mode. And I was like, fuck it, I'm going to manifest being psychic. Nobody can stop me anymore. I've always been curious about the occult and all that stuff. I'm doing it, right? And that's literally what opened my door. And yeah, I started working with Zoe, and she turned me on to the fact that I am a channel, and just opened up this whole, oh God, like I'm not going to start crying about it, but she just opened up this whole internal world of mine that I always had avoided and had always been so afraid of. And yet it was the one thing I was yearning for my entire life, was to just know who I was and know my place in this world and know what I'm capable of, and just know, just have that connection. And to like finally start to have that, albeit it was really weird ass shit to me at the time. It was like, hey, I didn't want to go this far. I didn't want to go this far. The connection that came with that, and the peace, and the just wave of relief, that sigh of relief, as if I had been holding my breath my whole life. It was like, okay, well, if this is who I am, if this is what I've always been searching for, like, I can't run from this anymore. Like, this is what I have always, this is like my lifeline I have always been struggling to find. And now I found it. So fine, I'm going to try it on for size. I'm going to work with it. And so I did. So the majority of this whole year, you know, a little bit of me got kind of caught up in a little sect of spirituality that's all about ascension and this and that. But that was just me still trying to understand who I am, understand what all this galactic energy really even is. It's not anything I've ever been that familiar with, although that is a lie in itself. It's something I've always been familiar with. It's just something I've always disconnected myself from.
Yeah. Good catch.
Yeah.
But the range of experiences that you've run through, I mean, all of us have gone through fairly colorful paths, but the range of ups and downs and hard and left and right and reactions to reactions, your ability to hold space for somebody who is either just beginning this, or they're at a big shift, or they don't know what is going on, it's better, it's stronger, because you've been there. And it's not the exact same story, but you're able to say, you know what? I got you. Let me tell you about when I was a private investigator after I did the sex industry, and then I was a life coach. And then, you know, then it's like, actually, you're going to be okay. You know, and being able to hold space for people. I don't know. I think that's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Boom. Testing all the flavors and all of the agreements until we find the ones we actually like. And then just see who shows up.
And then letting it change again.
And let it change again.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well, before we go, Cedric, do you want to talk a little bit more about your totems and your jewelry and your magical abilities, or?
I guess I could. I don't know what you want to know. I mean, it all comes from the same place. It is, I think I kind of said that without thinking about it, but it is a form of translation. It's like one of my weird nerdy hobbies is to read like old manuscripts from Alan Watts and Einstein and some of the stuff that no longer applies anymore, and pick it apart. And what I found is a lot of these guys either communicated in a certain way, a lot of these people communicated in a certain way because they didn't know how to explain it otherwise, or they did it because somebody was paying their rent for them to make it sound scientific and smart. And one of my greatest hobbies is to dig into this stuff and translate it back into common language in a useful way. One of when we were out in the wilderness, one of the things that the lead instructor, I did a 9-month immersion program that kind of wasn't at the beginning, but it was definitely a bulk of our time out there. And the lead instructor, he would get into talking about tracking animals, for example, like this is a deer's walking pattern. This is a deer's gait. This is a deer's trot and a deer's bound. This is what they look like on the ground. And all models are wrong and some are useful. And he refused to teach anything without prefacing and ending it with all models are wrong, some are useful, because the second that you expect an animal, and this is already a metaphor for your own inner self, the second that you expect an animal to always walk in a certain pattern, then when that animal is looking left, chewing a big mouth of grass and trying to itch their face with their back foot while walking, and the pattern doesn't match the one that you told yourself is the only way that it works, you will either make up a story that justifies it, or you will completely miss it. You'll block it out. You'll consciously or subconsciously skip over it. And so, honestly, that is probably the biggest thing that I learned out there is all models are wrong, some are useful. And I love taking that into translation and like, okay, this is the energy that I feel. This is what I found. This is what I know. Can I translate this into an object that you can carry and it will do the work for you or assist you in doing the work or carry the energy for you? Can I translate it into a self-guided expansion course where you can do it on your own schedule, on your own time? I'll record the videos, put them into place. You have access. Ask questions if you have them. Otherwise, just practice. Get into it. Mm-hmm. Or can I do it with private clients? And it was just at the basis of everything that I do metaphysically and structurally and logistically. And it's just translation. It's the bottom line is it's all models are wrong, some are useful, and let's translate this into something that is functional. Because frankly, nobody wants to, except for me and a select few, nobody really wants to read like 60 pages of Alan Watts. Nobody really wants to try and decipher like scientific journals. Except, I mean, that's a generalization, but when it comes to expansion, it's so much. It's a huge generalization, but the bottom line, I think, is when we want to get into this stuff, sometimes it's nice to just have a shortcut and have a translation and turn it into a conversation instead of a study. Mm-hmm. So it all comes out that way. It's just translation.
Yep.
Very cool. I appreciate you guys. I'm so thankful.
I appreciate you too.
Oh, I mean, the gifts, the power, the connection, the opportunity that we all have to connect out with other people in the world. Mm-hmm. Yeah, here we are.
So thankful too.
Yeah, I don't know where I heard it recently. Maybe one of you guys said it, but your self-growth and expansion will at some point get to a level at which the next step is community and helping other people and sharing what you have and serving what you have. And so it's like, it's in a funny way, it's a little self-serving because being able to reach out and help people and present this information and these lessons that we've gone through is a huge opportunity for us to expand. And then again, it becomes this mutually beneficial relationship. And
that's right.
I'm really looking forward. I've been kind of stalking you guys through these videos, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the inner circle turns into. There's such a powerful history that brought you two together. It'll be good. It's very good.
I just want us to stand over like a fire with our hands connected in the air, doing some powerful, witchy, galactic invocation type of thing at some point.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, I turned off the Viking so you could actually hear me talking, but usually this place is bumping.
It's a great playlist. I was playing it in my kitchen the other day.
I should share it in the comments. People can check that out.
Yeah, you should.
What does it sound like? Yeah, I'll add it to the things after we're done. It's music is a powerful vessel.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, sound, light, frequency, totems, talismans, commands, energy, focus. All of it. It's all its own kind of technology. Really, the stars, the way that I download data from the stars, it's like a supernatural technology that's translating code and information, and yeah, it's really beautiful how it all connects. Cool.
Well, thanks for having me on your wildfire show.
Yes, thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for hanging with us. It's been amazing.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys all for tuning in and hanging out with us tonight. Jen and I are going to pop our links for the Inner Circle in the comments below, and we'll also pop Cedric's jewelry link down there too, so you can check out his work. We're starting the Inner Circle on November 1st, so if you're feeling called, now is the time. Check out the web pages or connect with Jen and I privately, and we'll give you all the details. We love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us. And if you guys have anything you want to add before we hop off.
Love you all.
Yeah. And like I've noticed a couple of familiar names popped in that are usually like stalking me around the internet. So thank you guys for showing up. Cool. Cool to see the communities overlap.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Very cool. All right. Well, everybody take care. Have a brilliant night, and we will be back with you tomorrow.
Bye.
Goodbye.